Welcome to a special episode of the Wrap Party podcast powered by VeryBusy. Today I'm joined with my partner at Hunner Retouch and co-founder of VeryBusy.io, Emily Fishman. Now, why is today's episode so special? Well, apart from having Emily on, we're going to be giving you a sneak peek behind the VeryBusy curtain, talking about the development of our product features, what inspires them, and how we make them happen. We also want to give you a little outlook on what's coming in the next 6 months, maybe even further. And as well as an announcement about a Discord server we're spinning up for the retouching community. So stick around to the end, and then we'll have the details for you.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Emily. Welcome to the podcast, the Wrap Party podcast.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. I know we usually focus on unique voices from around the retouching community when we have these podcast episodes, but we thought it'd be interesting, as you were saying, to kind of let people see what goes into building a product like this and to give people a sense of what's coming down the road, what they can expect to see from us.
Oh, totally. And along with we usually talk with unique voices and people around the industry, that associate and work with us as retouchers. But, I think we also want to show, that you and I are still working retouchers. We have a commercial studio and, alongside building VeryBusy, we come from a heavy background in this, and we're building from our experiences. We use our product every day, as well as talking with users every day and figuring out, what we're going to build next. So, yeah, I think we really wanted to kind of get a little insight into this, as well as kind of push through the point that we use this product consistently and it's embedded in our workflows.
Yeah, you could say we made the Kool-Aid and then we drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, we did. Other people like the Kool-Aid, so we kept making more Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Yeah. So we understand a lot of the, when somebody is making a suggestion for what to do for the product, a feature that they want, it's easy for us to understand where they're coming from and why they're requesting it.
Yeah.
We're also seeking to evolve the features of the app to be able to do more all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, along with our practice and what we do, we have our ways of doing things, but, there's tons of workflows out there, tons of different ways people are working. So trying to find, common use cases, common threads among, the feedback we get to build a platform, but still keep it simple, but still make it robust enough to fit some of these workflows. Yeah. And then of course, with technology changing and AI and all this other stuff coming up, the sky seems like the limit for things you can start implementing and building. It's a matter of time and money for a lot of these things, it feels like, but yeah, and I think it's, as we move forward and keep on developing, we like to push stuff pretty fast. And a lot of you may have seen recently in some VeryBusy updates and emails, maybe social posts, that we've had some recent, we pushed some really cool recent new features. So maybe we dive in first. Should we just kind of run down some of the features we've released, just kind of give a quick overview?
Sounds great. Yeah, so first, why don't we talk about multiple filters, which was a highly requested feature. What this actually allows you to do is narrow down the assets that you're looking for, or a single asset, much faster.
This was one I've been waiting for a while too. And I think it really comes into play with, when we're starting to think about, the organization of our assets and then approvals and kind of the workflows we have coming in down the line, being able to filter and really kind of narrow down into the assets you need to pay attention to or find is really important. Also around the whole idea of one central kind of place of truth, you want one asset, you don't want assets everywhere. And so being able to maintain kind of a single source of truth and be able to filter and dilute it down to what you need is a solution that's been working and everybody's been really, really excited about as we build it into the platform.
Yeah, and bonus, when you leave a project and you come back to a project, your filters are going to stay active. So you can always pick up right where you left off. And this includes your custom labels too. So if you create unique labels to your own workflow, those are going to show up in the filter panel as well. So you can search by multiple labels and approval status and comment status.
Yeah, and it's hard to talk about and show too, but some of the little things like that, like keeping certain panels open as part of your workflow or maintaining certain filters when you're coming to and from projects, that we found in a lot of other platforms where there's those little tiny things that they add up. And in terms of a workflow or in terms of a platform you're living in day in and out within projects, having these things be like flow very nicely, and these little details all connect, it makes a big difference in terms of just how you can concentrate, how the amount of work you can get done, how organized you are. So, that attention to detail is something we take pride in, and figuring
Yeah,
out
I
those
mean,
little
it
things.
makes me think of the way that we use Photoshop, the little tips and tools and tricks that we use to be more efficient in our workflows,
Oh yeah.
like slimming down menus for tools so you don't have to shift click through multiple tools. So, anyway, not to get too far off on a tangent, but yes, like we want folks to know that the application is highly considered. We work very closely with our product designer, who's incredibly talented, to make very careful choices about how things get implemented and built into the platform.
Oh, totally. And, along with that, we brought her out, like her name's Ale, our product designer that we're working closely with. We'll have her on a podcast here soon and dive into her mind. But some of the daunting tasks we had evolved around notifications, and we rolled out some new improvements around notifications, which is it's a challenge, and it's a challenge mainly, I think, because it can get incredibly complicated, but it needs to be incredibly simple.
Yeah, this is a difficult thing for any platform to get right. I mean, think about all the tools that you use. Are any of the notifications that you receive like really hitting the nail on the head? It's just really difficult to do in today's noisy society. But we've done some things to the UI to make it much easier to navigate, to set your settings, to read an email and understand what to take action on. And we've also implemented a mute button. Do you want to talk about the mute button?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the comments was as people were getting in and using the platform was, you can be invited to projects, but maybe you don't want to get notifications all the time for that project. You need to be part of it. You need to jump into it, check it out once in a while, but you don't want that digest every 15 minutes, hour, whatever you have it set at. So very quickly, I mean, similar to some mobile UIs you'll see, if you want to mute something like your ringer or something, it's just the little bell icon. You hit it on the project thumbnail and you can mute that project. So you won't get any notifications except if you're @mentioned. We left @mentions on because that's a very common use case if somebody needs your specific attention to something within the project. So those will still push through. But, everything from new rounds updated or uploaded to, all kinds of stuff, new markups, comments, anything, those will be muted. So you can kind of kind of narrow down again, kind of coming off the filter thing. You're kind of filtering down your notifications here to what you actually need, at that time, at that day, or whatever within your workflow.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm excited mostly about the email enhancements that were done. The mute feature is awesome. I think that's going to come in handy if you are like a busy producer who needs to oversee certain projects but only needs to hop in when their attention is specifically called to facilitate feedback or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So not only is your inbox going to be less crowded, but when you do receive an email in your inbox, like I said before, it's going to be easier for you to take action, see what needs your attention, and dive into where you need to go.
Oh, totally. On the new email updates too, it's, a nice refinement of what we had before. It's a bit more customizable now because with that mute action, now emails are coming on a per project basis. So we have a lot more flexibility in terms of later on maybe how we brand them or how we communicate them. But also now they have specific subject lining, so they're not, you don't get all of your notifications stacked into one stacked email if you use Gmail a lot and use that setting. So, we open it up a lot to really put things front and center, especially when you want to see certain updates. So, that mute aligned with just the custom settings you can have from your notifications. And now with the refined email, you have a lot of flexibility in how you want to receive and be, kept up to date on these projects. Okay, now notifications. I have a love-hate relationship with notifications on any platform, but specifically building out VeryBusy. In all aspects of notifications, I mean, they're pretty boring, but they're important. And it's like something they can be incredibly complex and like you need them, but like your mailbox is always full of notifications from I get notifications every day from every platform I'm part of. And it's annoying, it's frustrating, and soon enough, you're just like, I don't want to look at them. So, let me know what you think. this process we had with our notifications, what we had was from like our beta, version of our platform, and we hadn't really touched it since then until users really started being like, hey, I need something better here. And so not only email notifications, but also in-app notifications and all these other things. So, we made some updates to notifications. It was daunting. It wasn't the easiest thing, and I think it's still a work in progress. But I don't know. What do you like most about what we have for notifications now?
What do I like most?
Yeah.
We did a lot. We were having issues where as retouchers, you assume that VeryBusy is going to do the lift for you, letting your client know that something needs their attention next, right? Like at a baseline, that's what you're expecting. Yeah. But like you were saying, our email inboxes are so crowded with emails that it's difficult to be sure that your notification is making its way through and being read. And, for me, I was getting emails from my clients giving me a heads up that things were ready for review, like in addition to the notification, because nobody trusts them, right? Like
it's a trust thing. Like, you get notifications for everything, like, and it takes time, and it's frustrating, it's annoying. I think an interesting thing we found was when talking to users was, we were kind of focused on how do we make the email notification better. Whereas, or our kind of notifications panel in app, but what the majority of users are actually using is they're going to the app and looking at the thumbnails and determining what needs to be done via, the comment icons.
Which speaks highly of the thumbnails in terms of their informational value. Like, that's great. But we knew we had room for improvement with how notifications were going. And we started with the email. Mm-hmm. Then we moved to adding a mute button.
Mute. That's what I was going to say. That's probably like one of my newer favorite features is muting.
That's your favorite?
Muting project notifications.
Yep.
Because that's a really easy way just to like clean up your inbox from a lot of stuff that comes through.
Yeah, right. So like if you're, let's say you're overseeing 10 projects. Let's say you're like managing the creative operations for a series of photo shoots, and you need to know generally what the status of the project is, but you don't need every granular detail to come into your inbox. This allows you to mute the project and only receive notifications when you're specifically at mentioned. Yeah. Hey, important. At so-and-so, I need your attention, come and look. So this is new. I haven't heard a lot of feedback from users yet about this, but we're really eager to hear from people to see if it's a useful feature. I've used it. I like it. Peter?
I like it. Yeah. Well, the other part of it too is like some other changes we made is just simplifying and making unique subject headings for each project email that comes through now. Like notifications are on a project basis now instead of one huge email digest kind of thing. So like, you could keep getting notifications in an email, yet like they're getting stacked and they're like, before you know it, like you're missing notifications. So focusing on, cleaning up that aspect of it, but really, relying on the interface within the actual platform, I think is what's beautiful about this. Because you could jump right in and quickly see what needs to be done when you're in the app. And the email is just simply a notification saying, hey, go to your app. That's how I use it. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, as we roll it out here, the new emails and stuff like this, how people are responding and using it.
Yeah, it's a really tough thing to get right. We've got some really smart people working to get it right on our team, and not talking about us, like, but our product designer and our product owner working really hard to nail this down. And come up with solutions that are actually going to be useful to the everyday commercial retoucher, producer, photographer, art director, what have you. Yeah.
Like all this while thinking about all the other noise we get every day and how could we simply get through that to let you know that a project needs your attention.
Yeah.
So, on our next note, this next feature I want to bring up here, I have like a little PTSD on because we had a first iteration of it that didn't go so well early on, and that's batch commenting. So we had batch commenting earlier on, but there were some things, we simply added the ability to batch comments on things, but we didn't really think much past that until we started getting support chats saying, hey, I batch commented on all these images. How do I batch delete them? Because I made a mistake.
That, and like, what if you only wanted to comment on like half, 50 out of 100 of the images? You couldn't do that, or you could, and then you would find yourself deleting.
I'm sorry, you have to go into every one of those 200 images and delete that comment.
Yeah, so we sunsetted the feature. What was happening was, instead of comments coming through on VeryBusy, because it wasn't fine-tuned enough to leave specific comments on specific images, people were going back to email, and that's the whole thing we're trying to get you out of. We want to get you out of email and into VeryBusy, where you have one source of truth for the entire project.
Mm-hmm.
No email necessary aside from the notifications that the platform is sending at very specific and strategic times. So,
hey, I want to make a side comment on the one source of truth and getting people out of their emails. A main thing about this, and I think people are like, okay, yeah, you want to consolidate things, have everything one sense of place, but one step beyond that, it's about once you introduce your clients or your coworkers to VeryBusy and it gets embedded in your workflow, it standardizes how you're receiving feedback and how images are being looked at and handed off. And that's such a pain point in so many people's workflows, is especially for retouchers or photographers or working with clients. You're getting feedback all different kinds of ways, and the more standardized you can receive that, the more predictable way you can receive all that stuff, it makes your life so much easier. You can work faster, you can produce better work. So that is all stemming from getting out of your email. That's that's the whole point behind it, is control. You can start controlling how you receive your feedback, and it'll make work a lot easier.
Yeah. So jumping ahead, we knew the value of this feature because we knew we had clients who were still going through image by image, copying and pasting their comment into every image that it applied to, like, multiple times over. So we brought it back, but we made it better this time.
A lot better. Yeah.
So this time you can actually, in your project, you can select the specific assets that you want to add the comments to. Right click, drop down, batch comments, type your comment, and boom, it'll be there for you. Not on everything, but only on what you selected.
Only the images you select, yeah.
So this is a huge time saver for people who are responsible for leaving feedback on images.
Heck yeah. And like, one of the most infuriating things that this helps resolve, especially for retouchers, I bet some retouchers have lost lots of sleep over this, is you got a batch of 50 images, and you're working through them, you're spending all day, you're working through these images, and halfway through you see a note that says, global, do this on all images. And you're like, God damn it. You just spent half a day working on these images, and now I see this global note that's in the middle of these things. So, that's a huge way to prevent this, is, selecting those images, putting that global note on there. So every image has it. So no matter where you start on your images, you're going to see that note and know there's a global comment.
This makes me think of a time when I was working on a project of talent on white, and the notes were pretty familiar to me from previous projects that we had worked on. But I got maybe 3/4 of the way through, and I saw a global comment to minimize flyaways on all of the talent. And, for me, I'm thinking, like, okay, that's going to add on like X number of hours of work. And here I was thinking, like, oh, I'm really like getting through these at a decent pace. But now I need to go back and make this edit. And here's the thing, like, I don't blame the person who left that note at all. Like, the platform should allow you to leave specific notes on specific images, or all images in this case. It would have been helpful. So to prevent this going
Yeah.
forward, we brought back the global comment feature, except this time you can specify exactly which assets the comments apply to. So maybe you have a batch of images and like 10 of those images are a specific talent and you want to make a global
Yeah.
comment on that one talent. All right, so let's talk about side-by-side view and markup view. This is a major
Yes.
overhaul to the markup view section of our application. And by that, we just mean where you leave your comments and your markups. So now you can click this button at the top right of the screen, and it'll place the current round of the image you're working on next to any previous round. This is a great way if you're evaluating the retouching that has been done for like if you're, the person responsible for leaving feedback and approving things. This is a great way for you to see progress on the image and also to ensure consistency. So
Yeah.
art directors love this, designers love this. It's not a feature that I personally use heavily. I don't think it's as much for retouchers, except sometimes, I'll admit, I go in there and I look at
Yeah.
what I uploaded next to
I'm a
the
before and
previous
after
one. I want
guy,
to
but
see what
it's
they're
still
seeing.
cool. Yeah.
Like, there's something different in like the context, different in the context of seeing it in Photoshop versus in VeryBusy. Like, and you want to make sure it's right if it's in
Yeah.
VeryBusy. So.
No, totally. I think the unique thing about this though is being able to compare against not just the past round, but like, if you want to compare your current round against the original image, you can now. Which we've gotten a lot of feedback. There's people, part of their process is looking at the changes from round to round to round each time. So it's incredibly valuable. It's very powerful in terms of you're comparing now side by side and having that in your arsenal of tools for VeryBusy. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
so one cool thing to mention about side by side is that you can actually still mark up in this view. So we specifically designed it that way. Everything that an application does has to be programmed, and that sounds really obvious to say, but it just
Yeah,
means that like we're actually making all these super granular decisions to bring you the best possible outcome. um,
totally. So the really nice thing about our side by side comparison, we had the before and after comparison. It flips A/B. You can see before and after on top of each other really quickly. The problem is when you're doing before and after, you can't really make comments when you're comparing them to. Like you have to hit the before, then hit the after, then make comments. But now with side by side, you can compare any past round to the current one simultaneously. So they're right next to each other, and you can make comments actively. So you can still comment on the most recent round while also having a previous round up, which is really nice. To when you're really trying to look at something and give specific notes and something like that, you don't have to toggle with the before and after and figure all that out. You can do side by side, leave notes while you're comparing.
yeah, and bonus, when you pan and zoom, it's synchronous.
Oh yeah,
So side
keeps
by
you
side, both panes will zoom and pan at the same time.
keeps you in line. Good UI. Yeah, much needed. Much needed.
Yeah, so should we talk about side panel navigation?
Let's do it. This is
Our
another
super
big
secret
one.
code name for side panel.
Yeah. Side panel navigation. Yeah, new side panel. One thing with VeryBusy, which I get frustrated with sometimes, and plenty of users have commented on it, was, if you're working within a large project with lots of folders, it takes a little time. We had breadcrumbs across the top bar, and you can kind of navigate quickly via that. But having your standard folder tree that everyone's familiar with is such an easy way to go from folder to folder or find what you need. So very simply, we implemented that. There's an easier way to navigate throughout all your projects. It's a folder tree. We added some little bells and whistles, like a pin button where you can pin your, kind of pin your favorites to the top of the bar, similar to like maybe you'll see in your computer or something like that. You can pin those to the top so they're always there, easy to access. And we got some future improvements coming too, but right now, we just released it and it's kind of its first little MVP version of our sidebar navigation.
Hey, Peter, do you use Adobe Bridge?
Oh yeah, I live in it.
Yeah, me too. And I know a lot of retouchers who do as well. So this feature that we're introducing Just simply, we added a side panel to VeryBusy because we wanted to be able to navigate within VeryBusy the same way that we navigate within Adobe Bridge. So this aspect of VeryBusy is heavily modeled on something you are already familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, not even just Bridge though, too. I mean, just the way you use a computer these days, it's the file tree navigation. You know, I think a lot of our kind of methodology about designing these things is, you know, we don't want to reinvent the wheel in terms of how people are trying to understand and learn a platform. I think there's just certain things everyone's inherent to, and a folder tree is one of those, and navigating a folder tree. So yeah, like you said, you know, we live in these applications that we're already using and navigating projects like this. So it felt natural to implement that on VeryBusy side too.
Definitely. And there's some cool features that we added to the panel as well that lets you pin things to the top if you have a project that's higher priority. You can also access hidden projects through this panel. So that's actually new. We did away with the tabs that you used to see at the center top of the interface.
Cleaned up the interface a little bit.
So we've cleaned that up. Yep. You can now access that through the panel.
Yeah. And, you know, we got more improvements coming down the line for the side panel. This is our first iteration of it. I think it's already up on our roadmap. As an improvement card is, you know, dragging and dropping stuff amongst, you know, the file tree and stuff like that. But for now, you can still move stuff around in projects and folders and whatever you want now. You're not limited to where you can move stuff. And
Yes,
you can
that's a big
specifically
upgrade.
It's a huge upgrade, yeah. So what I'm talking about is, you know, we upgraded the way we move assets within VeryBusy. Previously, it was you would right-click an asset and say move to, and it would move it to the root of a project, and then you'd have to, you know, kind of go and put it where you need it. But now you just right-click it, you get your file tree that pops up, and you could choose where you want it to go, like how it should be, right?
Yeah, we used to get questions, you know, can I move a project, or excuse me, an image from one project to another project, or a folder from one project to another project? And you couldn't, unfortunately. And we started to learn why people wanted to do this. We had teams within companies that were working on many projects simultaneously, and they were using each project as a different step of the workflow. So being able to move things along from project to project was what helped keep them organized.
Yeah, I mean, moving stuff between projects is huge. That wasn't even, like you said, talking to you. We had to learn the workflows of some other users on the platform, some other teams, to understand why. I think that's what's so cool about building the software like this, though, is we have our workflows as retouchers, and even other retouchers we talk to have different workflows. So trying to accommodate all these workflows, but keep it incredibly simple within the platform, right?
Building a digital product is complicated. We had some idea of what we were getting into when we started this, but I don't know if we fully grasped at the beginning the level of detail and attention that it takes to build a really good digital product. I think the thing that us as leaders have to do is listen to our users. So that means extending ourselves beyond our own retouching workflows and talking to other retouchers and creative folks in the industry who touch the retouching portion of productions about how they work.
It can be hard though, because I mean, as active commercial retouchers, we live in our own product every day. You know, everything we work out of is VeryBusy, and it's hard not to have your you know what you like, that's what everybody else likes, you know, but it's not like that. You know, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and like you said, listening to users, you know, getting all the feedback we can, trying to find those common threads and building from there is an important thing we found. And a good example of this is another feature, one that I kind of babied because I think it's so cool, and it's a neat part of our platform now, and a highly requested part of the platform. It's one of the first questions we always got to when giving demos and stuff is, how, you know, when you upload, say you have your first round of retouching done, you're going to upload a new round. You can batch upload new rounds, but they have to have the same file name for them to properly stack, and that whole history of that image and its retouching rounds are all together. So if you are a retoucher and you version your files like, image one, image v2, image v3, if you throw, v2 in there and it's not the same file name because it has a v2 on it, it's going to upload as a new image. It's not going to stack as a new round. You can't do compares. You don't have your notes history, any of that. So we now have smart uploads. We're calling it smart uploads. Maybe we'll come up with another name. I don't know. It's cool, I guess. But essentially, when you upload your batch of images in the background, we're looking at similarities in file names now. So we're gonna detect if there is like an underscore v2 underscore final, and we're gonna ask you, hey, we found some similar files here. What do you want to do with them? Do you want it as a new round? Do you want it as a new image? So it's a very powerful way. Same thing with file types too. Say, somebody uploaded the high-res TIFFs, but now you just want to upload high-res JPEGs for speed. You can do that now. You can batch upload those now because you can say, hey, we found all these file names, but they're TIFFs. Do you want them as a new round or new image? You can hit new round and it updates them. So it's such a time saver. Like this is one of those features that saves countless amounts of time, especially in big projects, when you're uploading and updating lots of images. And I don't think, not that I'm aware of, any other platform out there that has this feature.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Heck
I
yeah.
think that this was, like you were saying, a learning experience for us.
Oh, totally.
We have the way that we work, we have our process, but we were hearing you in particular, and this is why I think you really took your time working with the team to get this right. We're hearing a lot of feedback from people who wanted to be able to maintain their workflow, which included adding a V or an R to
Different file
delineate the
names, yep.
files in their own, in Dropbox or whatever they're using. So that's where this came from. That's why we created this. It's a problem that is specific and unique to retouching, and that's why it's in VeryBusy.
Oh, totally. And I mean, there was those, if you upload something and it's not right, there's plenty of times we've implemented some other features like batch delete last round. Like that was a specific feature we implemented because of some mistakes that can happen when you're uploading files. They either had the same name and you didn't want them to, or you didn't have control over how they were uploaded. And then all of a sudden you got to go through and go into each image and delete the last round manually. Like it's one of those things again. So we're continuing to develop these workflows to save you time and prevent mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
It should not add to your workflow. It should simplify.
We want to give you time back, relieve some of that work stress. So I mean, like you worked on 50 images and now it's going to take you, 10 seconds to upload those things. And they're already stacked, they're aligned. Everybody gets a new email saying new round. It's all as it should be. It's incredibly simple. It's over the course of a project, it's priceless to save that much time. So, I guess we could talk about a little bit about what we got coming up next too. We got some more big things.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. First and foremost, top of mind is approval flows. Mm-hmm. And this came to the forefront, particularly with the users or companies and teams that are on our platform right now. And they're trying to manage, when you're working through an image, there could be someone that needs to approve color, someone that needs to approve artwork, someone that needs to approve overall retouching, someone who needs to give final sign-offs. How do we simplify this so there's not so much manual work in passing this off, right? So that's what we're in the middle of building out right now. Work in progress. We're going to be talking to some of the specific teams and users that reached out to us asking about this kind of feature. We'll be talking with. If you're listening now and you have some input on this, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear your input on approval
Or fill out the
processes.
survey that pops up when you're in VeryBusy.
Yes, there should be. You'll see a survey that pops up in VeryBusy, like Em said, saying, "Hey, you got a few minutes? We'd love your feedback," and it's specifically for this approval process. So make sure you fill that out. That helps us a lot. Amongst that, you can go to feedback.verybusy.io. Of course, we have a preliminary roadmap there where you can kind of keep track of what's going on, what we're in development with, what we've released. push to deployment, what's coming up. You can also leave your own feedback there, like feedback on what's there currently, or if you have any ideas for VeryBusy for feature improvements. Feedback.verybusy.io is where you go to log that stuff and let us know. So, you can go there, see what's coming up. We got some other stuff coming up. We're working on SOC 1 and 2 certifications right now for compliance, and, making sure that we can put out there and prove to our users how secure our platform is and how we maintain it, and all that information you'll need for that. We have some other design improvements coming in. And a little bit more down the line, we're looking at some new updates to linking to folders, images, some permissions. Go to feedback.verybusy.io and take a look. So we have a couple more things before we wrap up this episode.
Yeah, so before you go, we wanted to tell you about the upcoming 2025 Retouching Industry Survey, where we seek to learn what people are charging, how that stacks up to demographics, and we'll arm you with that information so that you can make better informed decisions about how you run your business. So, I know from personal experience, people don't talk often enough about rates. I've been asked multiple times, I know you've been asked multiple times how to estimate things. I think having a baseline, understanding what the baseline is and sharing that amongst people in our industry,
totally.
Anyone who touches post-production, is a really positive thing. So I really hope that we double the amount of participants this year.
Yeah. Hope we get lots of participants. And like you said, it's not just for the retouchers, but for the producers, for the art directors, creative directors, anybody who's in need of retouching and who's asking for those estimates. It's great for them to have awareness of going rates and what things are costing and what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So do you want to tell the folks about the Discord channel?
Yeah.
So I'm such a noob.
I know. I use Discord, but so around through over the last year, especially through VeryBusy, we've been forming a community of retouchers and other imaging creatives, and kind of alongside with our industry survey that's going to be coming out, the second one here. Fostering the community, trying to give some stuff back and opening up some doors, and I guess the no gatekeeping, as people like to think of it, but we're spinning up a VeryBusy Discord. So not just for the product side of VeryBusy, but also just to build up community of within image creators, within post-production people. It's going to have some insider knowledge stuff, kind of what Emily and I talk about, and we'll be in there talking with users and stuff like that for VeryBusy. We're hoping to have some convos, some live AMAs, the Ask Me Anythings from teams, or maybe some guest people too. We will bring retouchers in or other creatives. So maybe more interactive kind of podcast-esque kind of thing here from the wrap party, which would be pretty cool. We're also hoping getting together a beta program for VeryBusy. So if you want access to some beta features before we actually release them, and we have more hands-on kind of availability and exposure to it, and help us develop them, this would be another place for you to get involved in. And finally, we want a good place for everybody within our industry and within, specifically, the post-production here and what we're doing. And networking, like-minded professionals. There's not there's some Facebook groups and stuff like that out there, but it's kind of hit or miss. But we want to start establishing a solid place for industry folks to come for not just industry knowledge and VeryBusy knowledge, but just to be one-on-one with each other and chat about stuff. So
yeah, I know, like, when I go searching for forums for retouching industry related things, I mostly find retouching like tutorials, how to do something in Photoshop.
How to.
But running a retouching business or being a retoucher on a team, which also has its own unique challenges, is so much more than just what you're doing in Photoshop.
Oh yeah.
So.
Sometimes I always say it's like sometimes retouching is like the least amount of like part of your job. Sometimes it's more, establishing workflows and the production and bookkeeping and invoicing and, creative briefs and calls. And it's just, there's a lot more to it, and there's not a lot of that information out there. There's a lot of how-to tutorials in Photoshop, but, on the business side of things, it'd be great to give exposure to some of that and, You and I will be in the Discord server. As we build the community out, we have a handful of other retouchers that'll be in there too, with a vast amount of experience and are very open to talking and helping out and discussing certain topics. So to get first access, use our invite link in the description box of this episode to join. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode. Em, thanks for joining me, and we're going to have you back. Right?
Yeah, I'll be back probably once a quarter to talk about similar topics, what's new, what's coming, what to look out for.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're tired of juggling a million things and want to take your retouching workflow to the next level, head over to VeryBusy.io and start your 30-day free trial. No strings attached, no credit card needed, just pure productivity. Link in the description box. If you like what you heard today, do us a solid, subscribe and leave us a rating. This will help us reach more creatives just like you. And I'll catch you next time on the Wrap Party podcast powered by VeryBusy.io.